Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, a video game show where I'm joined every week by someone who shares my melancholy ennui. It is Sema. Mon Dieu, Sema. Bonjour.
Melancholy ennui. I love it. You're about the least ennui-filled person that I know.
Well, not after playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, it is filled with melancholy ennui. It is you wallow in it, you bask in it in some ways in a really, really good way.
Ennui means like a cosmic kind of boredom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, yeah. So I'll explain.
Okay. All right.
Because there's like, yeah. Okay. Well, that's coming. That's coming this episode. Stay tuned. Lots of other good things. Let's just talk about the news.
Good news, everyone.
Jumped the gun there a little bit on the news button. First up in the news, this is disturbing to me. I find your lack of faith disturbing. Back on the Fortnite beat. Tell us what Fortnite's doing now, Sema, because they can do whatever they want. Whatever idea pops into their head, they can just do it.
Yeah. So I guess if you want to watch the next Star Wars show, the first episode of it, you can watch it 2 days early inside of Fortnite.
Yes. Star Wars Tales of the Underworld series premiere 2 days early in Fortnite, even before the people who paid money for this content on Disney Plus are paying for this. They don't get to see it before the kids in Fortnite. And by kids, I mean, all the people my age that are also playing, but a lot of kids. Well, Fortnite can do whatever they want. Hey, there's a new show coming on Disney. We should call them up. We'll get it on let's just stick it in just jam it in the game there. They're never going to let us do that. Oh, yes, they will. Hello, LucasArts. Yeah, we're going to take your first episode and put it in Fortnite. No, we won't want to let her do that. How about money?
Or else Disney called them up and said, "Will you please show our show to all your players?" And they said, "You pay us."
Yeah. Sure, we'll do that for money. No, I don't know. Maybe it's a balance of trade. Maybe they're both getting stuff out of it, so why not? But man, oh man, I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. I'm trying, Jerry. I'm trying not to get any angry about this any longer because it's not worth it. And it's just, Fortnite's just going to have all of the fun things.
Fortnite gets everything.
So whatever. We're going to have like the next WoW expansion is going to launch in Fortnite first or something. It's going to be stuff like that.
Just admit it. Fortnite is your favorite.
Fortnite. Wow. Okay. So that is a news item. Let's move on. In more relevant to my interest news, Assassin's Creed Shadows published a roadmap of free updates driven by community feedback and DLC details. So they do have, can I expand this a bit? Because I didn't even look through too much detail on what's in the roadmap, but there were a couple cool things that jumped out at me right away, which is New Game Plus. So they are going to be adding New Game Plus free content to come. So it doesn't even sound like that may come by June. But they're getting story drops, special collaboration with this parkour update where you're going to be able to be doing better jumps and different jumps and a bunch of new things, vertical ledge jumping kind of thing, photo mode update, quality of life improvements. By June, there'll be a second story drop with a free quest and a new ally for your league. More work on the open world alarm system. Gameplay immersion options, new difficulty settings, interesting. And then on the free content, additional content to come, a new game plus mode. I'll be interested to see, not because I'm going to do it, but I'll be interested to see how they implement it. because various kinds of implementations of New Game Plus can be really interesting, or they can be just fine, boring, whatever. So we shall see what that looks like. Oh, animus content. People typically don't like that, but I think it's okay. I liked it kind of wrapped around. That's the sci-fi meta scenario going around outside of you going back into these ancient memories of these assassins, which I thought was kind of cool. I do often, there's just been so much going on, but I often have the urge to go back and play Assassin's Creed. I think the month of May will be a good opportunity for me to do that. There's no big giant update coming out in May besides Doom, which I will play, but I will not exhaustively play. I'm excited to try it, but it's not the typical kind of game I sink millions of hours into. So I feel like there's going to be some breathing room in May, and I'll be able to go back to Assassin's Creed, which I'm looking forward to. All right, Sema, this next one, last moment I pulled this out, but we did a bunch of reading on it, didn't we? Tell me about.
I wish I had done more reading. So this is about the news that came out a while this week about the new feature that's called One Button Cast. And I'm really, really, really curious to learn more about it. I wish I would have noticed it earlier today. I would have read exhaustively on it. But they did say in the beginning,
for like 3 hours. So
yeah, they did say in the beginning of the article that of the various things I looked at, that it's reminiscent of an old add-on called Hakeli. That's how I say it anyway. And what that add-on did was the person making the add-on studied every class in the game and every spec and how you play them. And what the add-on would do would put like icons up on the screen to tell you what you should cast next to have the best rotation. So with Hakeli, you had to actually hit the button. Like you still had to do your UI and you had to hit the actual buttons and stuff like that, because add-ons in WoW cannot put a button on the screen that you could then press.
And they can't press buttons for you.
Right. So this is going to be similar to that, except for you will be able to just press it. So you could conceivably play by pressing one button. And you may be thinking, why would anybody want to do that? Isn't the fun in pressing all the buttons? And I don't know. I think there's an argument for both ways, because I remember I'd forgotten about Hakeli, but it was years ago I used to play it with it on my alts that I wanted to make progress with for a certain reason, but they weren't my main, and I didn't really care about being like the world's best warlock or anything like that. But I wanted to be able to kill things so I could get through to whatever it is I wanted, like if I was farming old raids or, for transmog or pets or mounts or whatever. So yeah, I mean, so there is going to be a cost though. If you don't play MMOs already or other types of combat that have a ton of buttons, one of the things that makes it complicated is the global cooldown. So when that is something that happens after you use almost any ability, during the global cooldown, you cannot hit or use any other ability. So it's around a second to a second and a half in WoW. And what they're saying is the cost of using this one button casting will be to make the GCD, the global cooldown, a little longer.
Right.
However, it's possible that people are already taking longer to decide what to cast next than this new longer GCD. I don't know, but I can see where it could be. I don't know. For some people, I think it's going to be a real advantage. And then actually for people who are very into min-maxing and getting the most out of their abilities and all that stuff, they are not going to use this because they won't want to pay the price.
Right. Right.
And so I think it might be I'm intrigued. It might be a good solution.
It at least as a learning tool. I wouldn't mind popping this up, as you said, was what the purpose of the add-on was also a learning tool. It'll like show, hey, you've got all these, you haven't played in 5 years. Here's your rogue. You've got all these abilities on your bar. Right. You're not starting from scratch.
And there's abilities that you never heard of too.
Right. Yeah. New things have changed. What are you game tell me what the rotation looks like. Cause I'll like look up the rotations and stuff, and I'll even like screen cap it and put it on a second monitor. So I've got like what the rotation's supposed to be. Having that built into the game a little bit, that doesn't seem bad to me. That seems like a useful tool. And then
I think
not that I want to be pressing one button. I like the part. It's like two parts. The main part, you don't have to use that one button press. It also is just lighting up which button is optimal. So you could decide not to even press it. But then you'd be able to see, and I'd be able to see like the arrangement of my buttons. Is that even set up right? And I would use that. I like that. That sounds cool to me. Just to learn.
I think it does that for some people. It's a fine line, right? Like sometimes using Hakili rather than teaching you the rotation made you depend on Hakili, which is what people would argue that it makes you a worse player. But I think it's all in the player. And if you have something, if you're playing WoW and being the best person at combat ever isn't what gets you up in the morning, this might help you stay connected to WoW. Or if you're the person who's watching somebody streaming WoW and you see their UI and you go, oh my God, that's over my head. This is a way that you could, become a new player of WoW. Possibly.
Yeah. Well, actually, Sema, unless you do a statistical analysis in the 0.5 seconds of your global cooldown to determine between the boss's debuffs and your buffs and abilities, which is the best ability, you're not even a player. You should just delete your character.
Delete your character, uninstall. So Forster's asking if it was just for DPS or for work for tank and heals as well. Conceptually, I'm thinking just DPS, but I don't know. But that is one of the questions I had as well too. Like I can't imagine it. Like they have a thing in the game right now, an add-on called Weak Auras. And so I use Weak Auras, and when I'm doing healing or DPS, what Weak Auras will do for me is tell me when my longtime things are back off their own individual cooldown. So maybe there's some version of that for healing and tanking that. Well, I don't know. We already have that. I already know when my Convoke the Spirits is off cooldown, for instance, and a tank already knows when their Endure Pain is off cooldown because of Weak Auras. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious about how it's all going to work out. Just like I'm curious about how the player housing is going to work. They also made an announcement this week about how what are the ways you're going to get decorations.
Let me ask about that in just a second. But just to close out on this, because I am very interested in that. The thing that I don't see this doing, which matters the least for DPS, especially in a single target boss fight, but still matters and matters more for tanks and matters a ton for healers, is what target.
Yeah.
So I don't see this saying, okay, here's your next spot in your rotation, but you need to cast it on that ad. So like for tanks, that's critical. What am I taunting when? Yeah. And for healers start switching targets like every cast potentially. So
I don't know, because like let's like unpeel that a little bit. We already have smart heals. So like when I cast Wild Growth on my druid, it goes to the people in the raid that need the healing the most by some algorithm, right? And also, I just realized too, if you go and do a follower dungeon, that AI player that's playing the healer is deciding who to heal.
Oh, I guess.
Somehow. I mean, I don't know if it's the best decision or not, but
I guess
I don't know. Maybe the pieces are there.
So far, I didn't see it in what they put together, but yeah, it could be. And maybe they could add it, in addition to it telling you the button lighting up, it could also highlight the target with a little arrow, but you'd have to like at least click on it or something.
Watch the video. I just love Ian Hazakassis. I know that he draws a lot of hate.
Oh no, I think he's smart, reasonable, thoughtful
I
person.
like him because he uses a lot of words, and I just eat that up because I'm always filled with questions when I hear people just give the highlights of something. And he will always go like, this is what we were thinking, this is what we were going for, and blah, 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 blah. It didn't work out the way we wanted, so we made this adjustment. I really love that.
I really appreciate that Jake Gyllenhaal came to interview him too. I don't know about Jake's new beard, but he's looking pretty good there. So there's that too.
So the interesting about stronghold decorations,
Tell me.
housing decorations is first of all, they said, there's going to be a ton of different ways. There'll be questing, there'll be quest rewards, there'll be, drops, there'll be this and that and the other thing. But the one comment they made was they don't want it to be like Transmog Mount and pet farming, where you go back to old raids over and over and over again to get rare drops, which I thought was extremely interesting. And then they also did not mention the cash shop.
So if they don't want it to be that, what is it then?
So they said, yeah. So they said, like, for instance, a quest reward. Well, what if you did that quest 20 years ago?
Yeah. What if the quest reward is maybe it's not like a rare drop out of something, but maybe you do need to go do the old things once, like
right, or
guaranteed
maybe
drop off the last boss in Stratholme or whatever.
Maybe the ones that are quests, maybe they're not going to do it for any old quests, or maybe it'll be retroactive like achievements were when they first came out, or tried to be. I think that was not without its problems, but there was 4 or 5 sources. Like, I think it's probably going to be like raids, delves, instances, quests, events in the world, dailies, blah 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 blah. But it felt like what they were saying is they aren't going to go back and put them into old raids, because they did that with pets at one point. Like, the old raids, none of them ever dropped pets, and at one point they went to all the old raids and put pets in them, and that was why some people ended up farming those old raids. But I don't know.
Saying, yeah, it's in all the old stuff, but you automatically get it, seems non-optimal and like a thing they wouldn't want to do, because then why would I engage with the system going forward? I just got 10,000 decorations because I've been playing for 10 years.
They did comment that from day one you'll have a lot of decorations already.
Okay, so maybe the design is just the fun of arranging them. It doesn't matter that you have a lot.
Yeah, I think there's. Yeah.
What is with this font? Why is this like a new? Is this like a new design? Like, I changed my zoom level to see, like, the heading, the top line of the heading overlaps by like 2 points. The second line of the heading, they kerning, vertical kerning, kind of like, it's like negative vertical kerning. I don't know. This is beside the point. I'm derailing things, but now I'm just wondering if I need to be doing this now in my web design, because this is like the hot new thing. No, this is the way you need to do headings now. You suck if you don't. Your website's going to look like old garbage. But it looks like there's a problem. Doesn't it look like there's a problem? Like, it's like my zoom level is off, or?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, sorry.
And then decorations themselves are going to be like unique items. I mean, they'll be stored in your UI, but they won't be like Transmog, where once you earn it, you can wear it on any character. It's like, once you earn it or buy it or get it or whatever, it's available to everyone in your warband. But once you place a chair, if you have 4 chairs, and now you only have 3 to place. So that's sort of like how it is in Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah.
But they also made some comments in this article that made it kind of sound like maybe you're going to have one player house that's Alliance and one that's Horde, as opposed to like one for each of your characters.
Weird.
That's just a speculation, and maybe the wording was just a weird wording, but
that's weird for one, and for two, the like discrete housing items also then makes it sound weird. Like, well, what if I need 6 chairs? Well, you don't have to go back and grind Stratholme 6 times, but if you want 6 chairs, you do. How am I going to get 6 chairs without going back and doing whatever 6 times?
Well, That's one of the questions, especially with like quest rewards when you can't really go back and do
Right.
a quest again. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that
So
when
it
there's fewer
raised
than
a
I
lot of questions.
want of a decoration or something.
Right.
Like I have
Right.
3 and I have 4 corners of the room, and I'm like, "Oh, crap." And it's like a rare decoration or it's out of print, so I can't get it anymore. People don't know what that means, out of print. Imagine like when they take things off of Netflix like that. All right, well, that's cool. Keep us up to date on that, and if you have like a video that or something that I should watch, shoot me a link. Put it in our Discord for everyone to take a look at. Sema, appreciate that.
Hmm. I watched the
Uh,
Taliesin one for that, which
oh,
I haven't
good.
watched.
Yeah, I've not watched them in a long time, but
Yeah, me either.
what about Lazy Peon? He tends to not do a ton of WoW stuff anymore, but tends to circle back every once in a while. Anyway, last up in the news, I just thought this was interesting. Again, in a world of video game adaptations, both working well because they're selling tickets to movie theaters, however that works. Again, in the digital world, that's not how that works, but they're also becoming very high quality. There's some really good adaptations. Like back in the old days, back in the 80s, when they would do a video game adaptation, they were never good. They were always terrible, but fun. And they would, some of them were even semi-successful. But nowadays, you can have video game adaptations that are just brilliant and wonderful. Split
Right.
Fiction. Split Fiction is getting one, and Sydney Sweeney has been cast as at least probably one of the 2 sisters, right? Or 2 friends. No, they're not even
Right.
friends. 2 writers, 2 main characters.
Writer.
The fantasy writer and the sci-fi writer who get tossed together, and they're at loggerheads a bit because their styles clash, but they need to work together to get through the thing, which is fine. The base story is also good, but the brilliance of the game and why it's such a good game is, and this must have been in the works even before they released the game, which also is weird to me because you don't put a deal like this where you're already casting people and not have had this in the works way before release. But the brilliance of the game is almost Ready Player One level memes of the game scenarios that they play through. So I don't know if they're going to embrace that and do more of that. Like, oh, look at us. We're playing Helldivers now. Because like that kind of stuff happens in the game. But maybe they just go more with the story and just let the fantastical video game elements just play out without diving into the meme aspects of them. I don't know. Be interesting to see. I liked the core concept, which was they're both writers and both of their genres sort of get taught. But I liked it as a video game. I didn't really think it was just like some compelling movie story where like I needed to unpack that world. But these movie adaptations are getting really good.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited about it. Like, I like the idea of the game more than I wanted to play it. So I'm
Right.
I'm happy to have someone just deliver it to me so I can just consume it.
Yeah, just pipe it into my eyeballs in a convenient way without me having to engage in your shenanigans.
Yes.
What's the name of that restaurant with all this stuff on the walls? Shenanigans? Yes. So in the coming soon, well, this is not coming soon, but it's on my potentially playing soon list still, RuneScape Dragon Wilds. So this is another thing I'm hoping to do in May, which is starting tomorrow. May starts tomorrow. Because there's less going on in May. I think there will be an opportunity for me to try out RuneScape Dragon Wilds, which people keep saying is fun. It's still early access and just the start of a game, and it's a very much a Valheim-like survival game. But I'm excited to try it. Very positive here in the 14,000 reviews on Steam. So there's that. And then the bigger one that is coming later in the month is Doom Dark Ages on May 15th. And that will be day one on Game Pass. So I will definitely be playing that just because it looks cool. It just looks really cool and fun enough. And we'll see. I heard there's like a bunch of sliders for how you want the combat to work, which could be really cool and fun too.
I'm planning to
solve some of my issues.
Yeah. I'm at least going to watch install it in order to at least watch the initial.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like
stuff. Yeah.
It actually looks kind of compelling that story where like you're like a banned weapon that you're like so dangerous. You've been like locked away by the alien overlords, and all of the people that you're going to get like orbital dropped to save, like are afraid of you or don't like you or don't think you should be there. And there's like a whole, if it's told well, I like that kind of story. It's like being the hero that people don't want, but then if you do it well enough, then they come to learn to respect you and cheer you on by the end. There's a whole part of that kind of like trope that I like.
Plus, I'm kind of intrigued by the whole sliders for the combat thing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because we're about to talk about where I really wish I had some of those. And then the final one, end of the month, Elden Ring Night Rain. I just think it's going to be big. I don't know very much about it. Just a couple of the things that they've said about it makes it sound like it could be interesting. I mean, it sounds like they almost are putting a little bit of survival aspect, but I don't know if that's survival of like survive by dodging 50 times in a row or survive like by getting some food and water and building yourself a shelter.
Right.
So we'll see what they mean by Elden Ring survival, but Night Rain, survive the night. I'm interested to see what goes on with that May 30th. This podcast is brought to you by Garden and a Goat, the upcoming game from Contemplation Games, which is currently in Alpha 1 closed alpha testing. Really excited about that. There's a little teaser trailer out there if you want to see sort of like where we're at. A bunch of things are going to change, but you'll sort of get a little bit of the feel of where the game is at currently. And it just has been so fun and exciting. I personally have walked 2 closed play testers through the game so far, and some trepidation in doing that. I mean, it's Sema, so I didn't think Sema was going to like make me cry too much.
Oh, I thought you would say, come on, it's Sema, so of course there's trepidation.
I did cry myself to sleep that night after she tore me apart, but I have that a little bit.
I feel like what I bring to the game is for you to say things like, what were you thinking when you did that?
And I did that, and I did that with our second tester who's in the chat room right now. I did like,
and see, Machete, I mean, he's a much better gamer than I am, so I feel better now.
He did a lot of things, but even some of the things that Machete was doing, I'm like, why is he doing that right now? Because I know exactly how everything works, and I've played it myself lots of times and kind of know the optimal path. And it's nothing wrong, but it's like, well, why didn't you go and get the bee? There's a bee out there, and you're just still like, you're just still picking up rubble all around the whole garden. If you go and get that bee, it's the bee is cute and fun, and pet the bee. Yeah. But it's fun to like see it evolve, and then that the next thing happens too, and then you're like, oh, look at that going on, and that's really cool. Or there's some friction and taking a bunch of notes on those kinds of things. It's exciting. It's exciting. Can't wait. We're gonna have probably 6 to 8 people that have play tested by next week, and we're gonna run a design session. We won't be able to change everything for everyone, but we'll be able to take lessons learned into what we're building next, because there's a whole nother layer that's coming to everything, which is cool. Yeah, Machete got much more into the like wanting to make things pretty. I think even more than Sema did of like.
I went back and cleaned up quite a bit.
Oh, I need some pictures then. You got to like share them there's a closed alpha. There's a secret back channel in our Discord.
Okay.
But you could maybe put some in the regular channel too. You could share some in there. We're not you guys aren't technically under NDA, so our trailer pretty much shows everything.
Once you told me that once you remove the rubble, it's gone forever. I thought, well, why wouldn't I just take it all out?
But not the weeds. The first thing you were doing was like you were pulling every single weed, and then I was seeing more weeds spawning behind you, and I'm like, gonna be doing that for a while if you keep that up.
It told me to.
This game is also brought to you by Alea Yacht Est, the gaming community that Sema and I play in quite a bit. AIE-guild.org. Lots of fun things going on in there. Lots of ARC, which maybe I'll talk about at the end of this. We've got a group in there. Lots of Star Wars The Old Republic, multiple nights. We might have a new ops team forming. There's people discussing it in the SWOTOR channel. Jump in there if you would like to join potentially a brand new group that's going to start in some of the story mode content, get a feel for it, if they can put a team together. And then there's 2 other teams that have openings, like they have a single opening on 2 other teams. So if you would like to get into some of the end game content with people who will walk you through it from the very first steps, get you geared up, don't feel like you need to be prepared for anything at all. That's the kind of game that we all play there. So that is available to you. This is also brought to you by everyone out there who's in our Discord, who's watching right now on YouTube or listening to this on Stitcher. No, Stitcher's dead. Spotify. It's on Spotify, Apple. You can ask your Amazon Echo to play this podcast. It's on YouTube. You can definitely watch it on YouTube. Like and subscribe, ring that bell. And then everybody who's watching live, that's really fun too. So thank you very much. We will catch up with some of you after the show as well in our live filming chat room, which we do every week on Wednesdays. Now it is time for some other games we have played.
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boys. No way,
God.
Finally. I kind of like the magical bread.
Meat back on the menu. Mon Dieu, mon cher. I have played Expedition 33. And it is quite the experience. I shall tell you all about it, Sema. Yeah, this is a game, one of the games of all time. Potentially one of the top games of all time. We will see. It is definitely on my list. I bet it's going to be on everyone's list for one of the top 5 games of the year, if you're talking about Game of the Year. I will not nominate it as my pick for number 1 yet at this point. I'm going by what I think will be winning the awards, not my personal Game of the Year. I might put like something like Avowed even slightly higher than this, or Assassin's Creed. I would probably put Assassin's Creed higher than this for me personally. But I really like it. It'd probably be in my top 5 of the new things that came out this year for lots of reasons, but not 100% of the reasons. And we'll definitely get into that to some degree as well. It is made by a French studio. So it's a French studio called Sandfall Interactive. They were formed by a bunch of ex-Ubisoft developers. Everybody loves to hate on Ubisoft. I do not. I do not love to hate on them, and neither do I hate on them. But they have had a lot of great talent over the years. They still have great talent, but they had a lot of great talent over the years. This group got together and decided they were going to do like an Ubisoft-ish game with their own fingerprints on it, their own spin on it. They're a French studio, so there's definitely the French cultural spin on it as well that really comes through in some really beautiful and brilliant ways. And they've done an amazing job. It's definitely a AAA production. It's a large-scale production. I mean, they have like, we'll talk about some of the voice actors, like Andy Serkis does the voice of the villain, kind of like a villainish character. I don't know too much about him yet, especially in the first. I've only played about 6 hours of the game. Charlie Cox is the main character, the English voice of the main character, Gustave. Jennifer English, who everyone loves because she did the voice of Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate. She is another one of the main characters. There's like a little cast of characters because you're kind of like putting a squad together. You're putting a team together. You're an expedition. You get broken up in the beginning. You all set out together in the, right after sort of like the opening intro chapters, which may even last like 45 minutes or an hour. You all get spread to the winds, except you and like one other, and you have to slowly collect your your team again over time, whoever remains alive. And you don't know if any of them are alive. But it's also a really brilliant world. So what they've done is they've created a whole new lore, a whole new story, and it is melancholy. So I said in the opening, Sema, I said melancholy, but also almost
You said
ennui.
melancholy ennui.
Just, it's kind of a post-apocalypse, and they don't know what caused the quote-unquote kind of like apocalypse. And this is Expedition 33, but it's Expedition 33 because there were 67 expeditions before this, and it's counting down. So something happened, and this paintress character, person, entity showed up 67 years ago and started this process of the Gromage, I forgot exactly how it's pronounced and spelled, where every year, at the same time every year, she manifests. There's a number written on a pillar in the far, far distance, like 100 miles away, but you can still see it in the distance. It looms visually in the game, in every, like the lines of sight, in the way they construct it, and it looms over the society. So it's like some apocalypse happened. The city of Paris was detached from the rest of the continent, the rest of the world, plopped into like the middle of the ocean, but with people still on it, and they still like exist and farm and go about their lives in like a semi-ruined version of Paris. And then the Gormage happens once a year. And what happens then is everyone who's older than the number on the pillar, when she wakes up and wipes it off, disappears, dies, gets turned into dust and flower petals. It's kind of like the Thanos, it's kind of like the Thanos snap. I don't feel very good, Mr. Stark, when Peter Parker drifts away into dust. It's very much that kind of feel when it happens. And it happens in the intro. Yeah, kind of like the blip. But because they've been doing this for 67 years, and the oldest person at the start of the game is 34 years old, and you are introduced, that first 45 minutes is during the Gromage, they kind of just like accept it. It's just like no one's...
It sounds kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and it plays with a lot of those themes. And in fact, the main character, Gustave, he's got like an ex-girlfriend, and they walk together through this whole intro. They kind of like meet back up but haven't talked in a long time. They both kind of had opposing views, where she just kind of like accepts the world as it is, and he kind of doesn't. And that's, they kind of like allude to in a very well told way through the acting, communicate these kind of ideas that they had. They're sort of like still have great affection for each other, yet have these opposing viewpoints. And she's 34 at the very start of the game. So, it's going to happen.
She's ready to go. Yeah.
So yeah, but you get the feel as you play through those opening chapters that a lot of the society, a lot of the people there they just kind of like, not full on depression, but just more like that ennui. They just like go through life just knowing that this is what it is and this is how it's going to be. And in some ways it's horrible. It's not like violent, but then the characters even have conversations later. They get into like a fight and some of their team members die. And then a little bit while after that, the next day, they're having a conversation about how horrible and traumatized and they are, and the shock is finally wearing off. But the Gromage, they say this, is in its own way just as violent, even though we they almost like turn it into a celebration, and you turn into flower petals and you blow away on the wind, and it feels like just like a melancholy moment in the year, and you just you celebrate life or whatever. But the paintress is killing lots of people. And there's some really sad parts of the cinematics too, where like children clinging to their 34-year-old parent as the parent turns into flower petals. And a little side story told through Mayel, the character voiced by Jennifer English, who's sort of she seems like a late teen, like 19, 20. She's like rounding up orphans and as the day progresses, kind of thing. And there's almost, you almost feel like you should be horrified, but you're not, just because of the way the pacing is and the kind of like the way the story unfolds. But you definitely feel sadness. Boy, if you play through that first chapter, Sema, you will cry. Because I nearly did.
I wouldn't be shocked. Well, if you nearly did, I'll probably be sobbing.
Especially because of the relationship between the Gustav and what's her name, his girlfriend, and how they spend their sort of like final moments together. That's kind of this things that whole walk through the city down to the harbor really tugs on the heartstrings as well. The cinematics and the voice acting and the mocap is so extremely good and advanced. It's, if you put it side by side by anything, like you put it side by side by like the Oblivion remaster, you can tell that the graphics are really good. But it's when you take a step back and sort of like look at the cinematics and camera angle and the story being told just through like the quirking of the corner of the mouth and a semi-smile and the roll, the roll of the eyes and the glance sideways. And the one character later is like sort of like scolding Gustav for his attitude at one point. And, it's this glowing character on the right, and facing away from him. And the camera is just sort of like showing Gustav over her shoulder and him just like, because he's sitting on a log, she's standing with her back to him, tearing him down a little bit. Like you got to pull yourself together. And just the way he kind of just like looks up and just the emotions across his face tell the story. They don't need words. It's so much gets communicated. It's just so well done with the camera angles and the cinematics and the cinematography and the mocap and the everything that they've sort of put together. So in that way, it's definitely a piece of art. That's definitely enough brilliance to sort of carry this game into a lot of lists of at least awards for all of those parts of the game. They should be winning things. But then there's... So
you're playing as Gustav, right?
You're playing kind of as everyone because it's a squad-based game.
Oh yeah, okay. I did see that, yeah.
So in fact, as you sort of like get into the world, you click, and I played with the controller, the recommend controller, and I got myself in a situation where I played it all with the controller. And I got into it. I liked it. I liked the controller. It felt really good on the controller, except for the part that I don't like, which is coming. But you can click anytime you're like out and about, you can click the left thumbstick to change your perspective or change the lead of the little squad as you're like running around in the semi-open world to one of the other characters. So in fact, I don't even know her name, but the glowy girl who's floating in the air, I always play as her because I like the way she floats around. Instead of like running, she like glides around the ground when you pull the trigger for like the run. Little Mayel, the red-haired girl, she's very cool. Voiced by Jennifer English. She's sort of like an adopted little sister of Gustav. She's very cool. So a lot of people I'm sure are kind of glom onto her. In fact, I'll play some of the videos in the background here while we're playing, while we're chatting. But she's very sassy and competent, but very young, little sister to Gustav kind of feel. You really get that whole feeling that a lot of people are going to be like connected to her. And those are the only 3 that I've collected back into my party so far. Really good conversations between all of them. And you can kind of let any of those 3 take the lead. Gustav, I would say, is mostly the main character. It's more his journey than the others, but everybody has their own moments, their own points where they're taking the lead as well. So yeah, I like all of them. Gustav definitely is having trouble coming to terms with the reality of where things are at. After the prologue, then you go on the expedition. So they put this expedition every year to go to the main continent and either try to fight the paintress or figure out what's going on, or they don't know. None of them ever return. None of the 67 expeditions ever return. So they're also, it's kind of melancholy, and people are leaving. Gustav is leaving his older sister behind, who's sort of an administrator of the city. You get the feeling he's about 30, maybe his sister's 32. So they're all kind of still the leaders. They're the oldest people in Paris at this point. But he's going on this expedition, and his sister disagrees. She's like, there's so much more good you could be doing here. Why are you going off where no one has ever returned from? But he believes that this is the path. This is the way to go. But he in some ways he's resigned to his fate, and that's part of the whole, all of they go through their little mottos here and there when they're talking to each other about how the expeditions, and one of the key ones they go off of is, when one of us falls, we go on. And Glowy Girl, why do I not know her name at all? Somebody in the chat room, tell me her name. She says, it's not if one of us falls, it's when one of us falls. So they're resigned, way of the samurai. They're resigned to their fate. They know that maybe none of them will return. They know maybe they won't be successful, but this is what their purpose is. But Gustav definitely has some rough moments early on where he's struggling with coping, and it's deep and disturbing. And Lune, her name's Lune. Thank you, Forster, who has finished the game. But then there's a game. So you got to talk about the game too. The game is JRPG style turn-based combat when you get into combat. So you're sort of exploring in the open world. It's not really very open. It's more, it's not very open. You're going through a zone, and there's a little bit of exploration and discovery within the zone. And then you'll see a monster or a couple monsters out in the zone. If you walk up to those monsters and combat initiates, you go into what's showing on the screen now, which is kind of a arena view where you're locked into the arena, and it's your squad on one side and the enemy squad on the other side, and it's turn-based combat. So you get to put together a build. Each of the builds of each of the characters is somewhat separate. They each have, they're each kind of almost have their own class with their own resource building. Lune, she has this concept of stains, which is colors. And if she builds, she casts one ability and it gives her a blue and a white color. So then if she casts a red ability, which consumes the blue ability, it empowers it. So then you get, now, okay, well, I'm building up these stains and I'm consuming the stains, and you get sort of that back and forth. Whereas Gustav he's building up charge. So he does abilities that build up charge, and then he can consume that charge when it gets up to 8 or 9 or 10 to unleash a big hit. And Mayel, she's got stances. And if she goes back and forth between her stances, and each ability shift has the potential to shift her into another stance, then she can line up an ultimate stance, which unleashes a big hit kind of thing. So they're each is kind of a different class. It's not really tank, healer, DPS, although you can kind of get a little bit of those roles even as you build out your team. I tried to just go that way, and it's not really that way, especially from the start. In the later game, I think I heard in the late game, there's one kind of more of a taunt ability, but that doesn't exist in the early game. Lune does have a nice heal that she can heal other people early in the game, so you can kind of make her a little bit more of a healer. But it's not tank, healer, DPS. I'm just going to have my RPG, my MMO squad. You have to have them each lean into their own ability set to some degree as well. And then the monsters have their abilities. Sorry, you're going to jump in there?
I was just going to say, it's so good looking.
And all the abilities are really good looking. Because it's turn-based, when they cast their abilities, it like drops in and out of fast and slow motion so that you can really kind of like experience the almost like the Matrix moment when Trinity jumps up into the air and time freezes and the camera spins around. You get a lot of those moments in the combat. So cinematically, the combat looks really fun and cool too. All the UI elements that are painted on the screen, the floating text, the way your abilities pop up when you're choosing an ability. Get as much time as you want to choose the ability, but then comes the part that I don't like. So I'll get into that next. But that's the basis of it. There are builds. There's extra kind of like augments that you find in the world and empower by using them and slot into your character. They're called pictos. You can almost think of them as, they kind of describe them to some degree as almost like tattoos you're painting on yourself. Because everything's like painting and drawing and art and light and color. Because that's the world that they live in, the paintress. The paintress paints these monsters into existence, the Nevrons. That's who you're fighting. And then the bad guys have their own ability sets and their combo moves, and they shield themselves. And you have to break the shield, and you have like the main boss might summon adds at various times in the fight, and so there's that going on their terms. Then there's the part of the whole fight that I don't like. Are you ready for it, Sema? Should I get into that now? Or any other questions before
There's been so much foreshadowing. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, Barry in the lead. You cast your ability. This is the first part where this happens. And I think you can even turn this part off. But the first thing that happens when you cast your abilities is, as you're casting ability, the A button will show up on the screen. And you can see it here. And if you click the A button at the right time, you empower your ability. So fine. That's fine. I don't like it, but it's fine. And you could just ignore it completely. Then the boss's turn. During the boss's turn, there are 3 things that you could be doing while the boss casts their ability. One is dodge. You can press the B button to dodge the boss will either be shooting his abilities at the whole group all at once or at one of the individuals. Either way, you're just casting B at the right time. When is the right time? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. You could do the fight like 10 times in a row to learn the fight, or you could be elite player who plays these all the times and get it. But you have about a half second, like a 0.4 second window to cast the dodge at the right time, to dodge the ability. And the bosses do a lot of bullcrap where it's like they raise their club, but then they balk just a little bit, and then they slam it down. So if you dodge early, well, then you get hit. But you can learn it. But do you want to like lose every fight first before you can win the fight? You can take a couple hits. That's part of the point. And if you drop the mode down, you can take all the hits, but you still feel like a loser every time you miss a dodge. Then, ability number 2 is the parry. And parry is really important and useful and powerful because if you parry, then during the boss's fight, if you parry like a combo of abilities, you can strike back. However, you only have a 0.2 millisecond window to execute a parry. And it's at a slightly weird time. It's like exactly when the ability is landing. So you almost feel like you need to be casting it late. I can't, like you see in this IGN trailer video, how this is like the very first fight. So it's the easiest one to do it on. But do you see how they're like parrying and they're like getting parries off every time? I never get it. I barely get a dodge correctly. Like this dodge here where the 3 ice things show up on the ground, that one I can get. I can dodge that. When the boss is like, and it'll say on the screen, Evik, the boss, is executing a 5-hit combo. Okay, I'll be able to dodge like 3 of them. But it's like, again, the boss, they all do the BS where they're like, oh, I'm going to hit you. Oh, no, I meant it's my 3rd hit is a half a second later. So you screwed up. It's not just 5 in a row. this is a me thing, I realize, because a lot of people love this kind of like action in the middle of the turn-based combat. I feel like a loser. I feel like I lost every fight, even if I kill the boss and take no damage. I feel like I suck every fight because I'll miss my, I'll get most of my abilities, but if you press A during my ability, if you press A during the ability, you empower it. If you press A at the perfect time, the little word perfect comes up, and then it's even, then you even did a better job. Well, you get perfect. It's designed for you not to get perfect most of the time for a normal person. And I feel bad when I don't get perfect because like I sucked. And then on the boss things where I can barely dodge and I can't parry, it just feels bad to me and it annoys me. If I could just shut those parts off and I could really focus on the strategy of what abilities to cast when to chain my abilities and how to pair what I do with what my other team members are doing. The analogy that I came up with is, do you ever play that game where you have to put your hands out like this? You have to put your hands out and the other person standing across from you puts their hands on top and then you have to like slap their hand. Do you ever play the hand slap game? And if they pull their hands away, well, then they win and they get to slap your hand really hard. But otherwise you're like slapping their hand. It's like playing chess, but after every move, you have to play the hand slap game to see if your chess move worked. It's like, do you want to play chess or do you want to play hand slap? I don't want to play them both. I'll play one over the other at a different time. But I like this. It's like a brilliant chess game where you could be putting these moves together and building your build and slotting your pictos. But then to like have to play the hand slap game in the middle of every single round bothers me. It bothers me. It bothers me more than I thought. And you could go down to easy mode. So there's easy, moderate, hard, and super hard or whatever. 3 modes or 4 modes of difficulty. And I was playing on like the normal difficulty, what it recommends you play. I love the difficulty of the fight, except for when it started to get harder and harder. And if you're not parrying, like some of the fights, there's like these optional fights. If you're not parrying, you won't get through the fight. If you're not dodging, you will die. So I can get most of the dodges off. So I could get through most of the fights without even dying. One shot. Most of the fights. Still felt bad because I was still missing dodges that I felt I should be getting. If you switch it to easy mode, well, then you'll still win the fight, but I even felt worse. It was like going to easy mode for me was worse because the boss would die too quickly for me to like even like line up my big, build up my big power shots and have like the big culmination of Gustav brings down the red lightning. And it's like the boss is already dead by the time Gustav is powered up to 10 charges, but I still missed every dodge because those don't change. I missed every dodge and parry. So I killed the boss, didn't get to unleash my big damage chains, and felt like I sucked all because I can't do any parries or dodges. I mean, I get better and better. It's fine. But then they throw more and more twists in every boss fight at you. So like now it's 7 in a row. And unless you get all 7, you're going to get smacked in the face. Now it's 9 in a row. And he does, like a triple thing in the middle. So you're going to fail it the first time you ever see one of these things. So it's like, unless you're planning on doing every boss fight a few times, you're going to be failing. And it feels bad to me. It just feels bad. So there you go. That's where I'm at. That's my twist on this, where if they'd given an option to disable that and just let me take the damage and just like not have that part, not feel like I lost, I'll take the damage. Just to like, don't make it one shots. But let me like work out the strategy to like heal, and there's defense. There's like defensive shells you can put up and shield abilities. And if you just let me play through that part of the game, it would be brilliant and I would love it. And because that part of the game I love. It works. That part of the combat works really well and I really like it. So it's hard. It's hard for me to get around that bit that I don't like, to the point where by the time I kind of finished up my 6 hours, I was like, I guess I could keep going. But I ran into one of those optional side bosses and I shouldn't have taken it on because that one I lost the fight after only doing like 10% of its health and damage. And it was not happy by the time I was done.
Well, the way you're explaining it, it makes it sound like you can build up this sort of deep combat or deck that you're going to play with, but then it's all obviated by this like reflexes game in the middle.
Yep. It's in some ways, absolutely. There are some of the boss abilities where if you don't dodge, it's like a one-hit kill for at least one of your squad members. So yes, unless you're also good at the Twitch dodge parry game. Oh, and then they throw in jump. So it's dodge, parry, or jump. Like if you cast an ability and there's a jump symbol and they telegraph it, but unless you jump at the right time, and that time could be not now, not yet. Now you got it. Unless you all jump at the right time, you also might take a big hit that kills people in the group. So that doesn't feel good either. So yeah. Otherwise brilliant. So, I mean, for me personally, I'm going to knock a point or two off of the game and not finish it because of that. But otherwise it would be, it's just really well made and well done. And I would be
is that
like
just
a 10 out of 10.
Is that aspect of combat like configurable?
I think the piece that's configurable is you having to press your A button during your turn. As far as I know, there's no way to turn off needing to respond and dodge and jump in the boss fights. As I said, you can knock it down to story mode and you can get through then with just tanking all of the hits. But you're still going to feel bad. I'm still going to feel bad. Maybe no one else will, but that's, again, I said a lot of this is a me thing where it's sort of where I'm at. So that's that. That is Clair Obscur. It's a fun experience overall. Brilliant game, but that's what I've been doing.
Kind of reminds me of the chases in South of Midnight. It just seemed like you're going along at this pace, and then all of a sudden it's this game of
parkour, platforming, parkour, wall running bullcrap.
Yeah,
I agree. But at least, I mean, it being such strategic combat, it's turn-based strategic combat. Pick your right ability you have as long as you want to choose. Intersperse with twitchy jump dodge, twitch jump, twitch. This was driving me crazy. All right, enough of that. What else have you been playing this week, Sema? Give me a list. Give me a rundown. Anything else fun you want to throw out there?
Just that I'm still playing hardcore WoW.
Still, what level are you? And on which iteration of your life?
Right now I'm level 14.
14.
And my goal right now, which is a dumb goal because it's making me take chances. Right now in hardcore, I guess in all of the WoWs, is Children's Week.
Yes.
So something that I've never, ever, 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 ever considered before in Children's Week is if you do the Children's Week activities, at the end you get a pet, but one of the options is to get that curmudgeon's bag of gold, and in that bag there's 5 gold, and I'm like, oh, I want that 5 gold.
I need that gold.
Right. So I have to go to the the lighthouse in Westfall, which is dangerous. Westfall in general is just dangerous. You have to have your head on a swivel, and there's these elites roaming around. So that's one thing. And then you have to go to the dam in Dwarfland, which that's not hard at all. You need to be a certain level, but the thing is, I'm going to have to ask for a mage portal to get to Darnassus because I don't want to do the wetlands run.
Right.
I think I've done it in hardcore, but not till I was level 19 or 20. And I think like with luck, you can make it lower level than that. But who gets luck?
Right.
You know, all
No,
it
that's the
takes
whole
is
point.
one crocolisk to come from the side, behind the side, and just chomp you once,
Yep.
and you're a
Ooh.
goner.
So what
So,
iteration of life is this for you?
Fourth, I think.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You're not up to you're not Seam 11 yet. Sema
But I
4.
named. They've all been frost mages. Well, they're mages. In classic, you don't really. Yeah. But I play mostly frost because I like that
Yeah.
style of freezing things, and
Plus a little bit more defensive tool set there where you can
yeah, I freeze them in place and then I hit them with fireballs, basically.
and if you need to
But
run away, you got to blink and I mean you
yeah,
got
but
that
not
on
to
the
level
ability. Oh.
not to level 20.
Ooh.
So I got no blink. If I had blink, I would feel a lot better about wetlands. Except for those crocolists, they can bite you in half in one bite. Anyway, um, at- anyway, so yeah, so each character has been the same character, but what I was gonna say is this time I named her no version of the name Sema.
Oh. Something
Her
different.
name her name is Bolt Fizzle.
Bolt Fizzle.
Yeah,
That's nice. That's a
she's
very
a no
mage.
mage.
That's a very
Yeah,
no mage name.
yes, that's what I was going for. And so I'm going with the luck of the Bolt Fizzle.
Bolt Fizzle. What's her last name? Bolt Fizzle Mana Jammer.
So I'm to the point now where she's just started to do. So I've been going back and forth between zones, which you kind of have to do if you want to keep doing yellow and green quests, right? Because they get orange. I don't want to do them.
Right.
Like I was in the Dwarf Land the other day, and some guy was trying to get a group together to go over and kill some elite ogres. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. First of all, I don't know who you are, and I'm not going with you into this dangerous situation. But so in general, he goes, I see you sluts out there that are 19 and 20. I felt like I didn't do this, but I felt like commenting to him, like, oh, now I really want to run with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. And there's a bunch of people roaming around that are playing the variety that's called self-found, which I don't know where that term comes from. Maybe it comes from other games, but self-found, which means they can't use the mail or the AH or the player economy
or trade with other players, or
Right. So I'm kind of lured by that because I don't want other people to bug me. But at the same time, I want to be able to buy things on the AH and sell things on the AH. So that's the
because there's a little bit of as we've just heard, you're lured by the 5 gold.
Yes, I am, and I want to. I want to be able to buy
money.
At level 40, I have to have 100 gold.
Right, to get a mount, right?
Yeah.
Flying mount at 40, right? Or
nope, regular mount.
Regular mount is 100 gold?
And it's 40. Like you walk for 40 levels.
Well, have fun with that.
There's so many things that I don't remember. And it's like, where's such and such? I'm like, oh, that was post Cataclysm, wasn't it? But yes. So that I feel like I was really surprised that I didn't get more into survival games than I did because as a gamer, I'm so open to doing repetitive things over and over again and things that I've done before. I mean, this is evidence, right?
Yeah, right.
But I don't like that part where you have to fight all the time.
Yeah.
And there's stupid floaty combat.
It is kind of floaty combat. I've been doing, speaking of that's what I've been doing a little bit still.
Oh yeah, Arc.
Doing a little bit of Arc still.
I love watching that channel. I love seeing the comments, but I also love scrolling through a bunch of them. Move that slider down.
There's a lot. We have a lot of chatter in the Arc channel in our Discord if you want to jump in there and see that, scroll on by. But there's one other thing I was going to mention that I did 15, 20 minutes of this past weekend, which maybe I'll talk about more next week. Oblivion. I did launch the new Oblivion. And it does look buttery smooth. And I got to hear Patrick Stewart as the king talking in the beginning. And it's still,
I didn't realize he was in that.
Yeah, he's the voice of the king. So that is fun and cool. It's definitely a remaster. So people are saying it's almost to the level of a remake. It definitely feels like a remaster and not a remake in both the good and bad ways. So I just scratched the surface, but like the UI definitely feels old, but in the way that you want it to, because you're trying to get the feel of playing Oblivion again. But there's a lot of that going on. It definitely feels familiar in those old ways, but reskinned in some really nice, new, fun ways. It's pretty cool. So we'll see. We'll see how far I get in that too. I wanted to get through Clair Obscur because you told me to, and I did, and it was wonderful and brilliant. But I would be more excited to play something like Oblivion, so I could see playing more of that next week. We'll see.
Lucky you can do both.
I can. ¿Por qué no los dos? We will play both. So that is it for today. For us, all the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and our video is always up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too on when everything goes live and when everything. I did not put any of the go live notes on Discord, on any of the social media today. Oops. But we'll keep you up to date on when the show hits the feeds, at least. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.